Newman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning, 7:07. The Morning Majority is up and at 'em this morning, getting it done. And as always, the big newsmakers come right here to the Morning Majority to talk about what's going on, and that is very true again this morning. We have on the line Herman Cain, a presidential hopeful, a man running for the Republican nomination for President of the United States, also a man who is president of Godfather's Pizza. Mr. Cain, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
You know what? Your numbers are not where I think you would like them to be. But that doesn't mean you're not bringing something interesting to the debate. I very much was enamored with this idea that you had of the 999. 9% corporate flat tax, 9% personal flat tax, and a 9% national sales tax. Is it time to look at something very different than what we're doing right now when it comes to the collection of taxes?
Absolutely. And here's why. The president's latest proposal is nothing but, once again, trying to tweak the tax code to pick winners and losers. If you look at the president's proposal, that there are 84 sneak taxes, as I call them. Stuff that most people won't even know it hit them until after it hit them. This whole thing about the millionaire tax is nothing but a distraction. The whole proposal is a Trojan horse. And if you go through those 84 sneak taxes, number 70 is more money to the IRS. Go figure. They get $3 billion more to harass us. This is why I believe that the only way to get economic growth, real economic growth, is to throw out the code and put in something as simple as the 999 plan that I have proposed and I have been talking about.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
The base, it lowers everybody's taxes. What a novel idea. It doesn't just lower the taxes for the people that the bureaucrats want to lower. It lowers taxes for everybody.
So seriously,
that's why we do need something different.
Did you get the 999 plan from your pizza days? I mean, that sounds like a great deal on some kind of special pizza deal. Is that where it came from?
I wish I were that smart. No.
I want to ask you.
I got that from one of my economic advisors. We took all of the various buckets. We took we looked at the taxes coming in from corporate taxes, personal income taxes, estate taxes, capital gains tax, and the payroll tax, and said, okay, how do we bring in the same amount of revenue using the smallest number we possibly could? And we did a simple regression analysis to come up with the 999 plan.
I love the 999 plan. I do want to ask you one thing about it, though. The 9% flat tax, you get rid of all deductions except for charitable deductions. We've had this kind of debate on why do you keep charitable deductions in there?
We keep charitable deductions in there because we do not want to remove the incentive for people to make their own decision about which local programs or which charitable organizations they want to help. I don't like the idea of thinking that the government can make those decisions. Let's leave those decisions in the hands of the individuals. I believe in the philosophy that if you want to solve a problem, go to the source closest to the problem. Many of the problems in the community, the people in the community are much more familiar with it than somebody in Washington, D.C.
Mr. Cain, you were a CEO of an organization. You were pretty high up there. I wonder if, in your experience, you paid fewer taxes than your secretary/administrative assistant. Have you found that that's the pattern?
That is not the pattern. That whole thing is a red herring. First of all, I can't ever remember filing an adjusted gross income of $1 million. I have done well, but in order for someone to file an adjusted gross income of $1 million, that is an anomaly. I think people have calculated exactly how many people in that situation. I can tell you throughout my 40-year corporate career, and my assistant and I have always been, all of the people that work for me have been pretty open. I have written checks to the IRS every year, bigger than what they had to pay in taxes, because a lot of my income was salaried income, just like theirs was salaried income, and we both paid that 15% payroll tax. So I just think that is an anomaly that's being used to distract the American people. That's all this is. The president wants people distracted with this whole millionaire tax thing so they won't look at these sneaker taxes that are in there. Nobody's talking about that. 84 of them. I counted them last night because I woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat saying, what else is in this thing? And they were there.
Real quick, I wonder what you think about, we got a debate coming up this Thursday. The former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson, will be involved due to various rules about the amount of polling you have to have in order to be in a debate. He hasn't been in them thus far. What do you think should be the cutoff for folks who are in debates and moving forward? And do you feel like you've been treated fairly in the debates thus far with as much time as you get?
Well, you obviously have to allow the cutoff to be determined by the people sponsoring the debate. But in terms of have I been treated fairly, in terms of the amount of time that I have gotten at the debates, in some, yes, but in some, no. But that's just the way it is. But the biggest thing that bothers me about some of the debates is that too much attention is spent on issues or topics that are not relevant. For example, it's not relevant what you call Social Security. What's relevant is how you fix it. During the last debate, too much time was spent on whether it was a Ponzi scheme or not a Ponzi scheme. Too much time was spent on Governor Romney saying that Governor Perry was scaring old people. I was the only one who said, here's how I would fix it. It got no play.
Right.
If that had got some play, I would have been happy, and it wouldn't have bothered me that I received the smallest number of minutes in terms of the debate. I am more into the quality of my responses than I am into how many minutes that I am there saying something that's not really relevant to solving the problem.
May I ask you a question on that point? And that is, yes. I love the fact that you made a commitment, that you feel passionate about running for president, but at some point, if your numbers don't come up, you have to make a decision about whether it's good for the party to stay in or is it time to get out. At what point do you think that you will be ready to make that decision?
You're right. There will come a point when you have to make a decision. But let me address one part of your question. The reason I ran was for the good of the party. The Republican Party, with all due respect, they have a history of knowing how to lose. And I thought, I felt as if with me getting in the race, it could help establish the debate and establish focus on solving stuff. This is what I'm about. And I believe that already up to this point I have been able to do that. Secondly, as long as my campaign is financially viable, I'm going forward.
All right.
The fact that my poll numbers might be low, that doesn't bother me. And here's why. My name ID is only 50% according to the latest Gallup poll. That's good news when you consider the fact that the name ID for Romney and Perry is somewhere up over 85%. And so all we have to do is continue to do the things that I've been doing.
Okay.
And as long as those numbers continue to grow, and as a matter of fact, they are continuing to grow.
Well, Mr. Cain,
I will not drop out for the good of the party. I will stay in for the good of the party.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Cain, we thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning